requests to make. Everybody is requested to put their phones on silent, be switched off, and in case there are any performers sitting in the first floor, they're requested to move to the second floor. Thank you. Okay. I'd like to take a couple of minutes to thank the people who made this event possible, our sponsors. Our sponsors for the evening are GSG, VGSA, USG, ORL, PALM, and DCOPT. GSG is the Graduate Student Government, and they aim at making a graduate and professional student experience comfortable. They also help fund various student organizations, and they are our voice and representatives to the higher authority. VGSA, or the Viterbi Graduate Student Association, represents specifically the Viterbi students. They sponsor on-campus organizations and hold various events to help the new students acclimatize to the surroundings. USG, or the Undergraduate Student Government, works with the different on-campus organizations. They provide the tools and resources necessary to have an organization on campus. Office of Religious Life, or ORL, is another of our sponsors, and they sponsor campus programs with religious, moral, or spiritual focus. PALM, or Purchases at Last Minute, is a source of USC funding, and they help cover last-minute expenses that occur for events like these. DCOPT, I'm sure most of you must have heard, is an online employment portal that helps students connect with their potential employers. It serves as a one-stop source for resources that will help students plan their career lives. A huge thank you to all of our sponsors. Thank you, everybody. Seated amidst us today is a very special lady. An LA-based Indian American, she was in Mumbai before she moved to LA. Taking inspiration from the rich cultural diversity of this beautiful city, this year she authored a book titled Pioneer Boulevard, a collection of short stories. This book has been described as witty, elegant, and wise. The story revolves around people who migrated here and the shifts and adjustments they've had to go through. This year, she also founded Consonant Books, a firm aimed at publishing women writers from multicultural backgrounds like herself. Please put your hands together to welcome the author herself, the stunning Ms. Sharon Edwards. And we're honored to have you on stage with us today.
Introduction. Good evening and a very happy Diwali. I wish I could see all of you, but I can't. Perhaps it's a good thing. What a privilege it is for me to be able to address you on this very special occasion. I had contacted the AIS 2 or 3 weeks ago to see if they might be interested in the possibility of my holding an oral talk to discuss my new book at one of their events. And I never dreamed that they would do me the honor of asking me to be chief guest at the Diwali event. As soon as I read the email from Priyanka Pradeep, the very gracious Director of Relations, asking if I might be free this evening, I thought to myself, I will make myself free. As a writer, I should be able to imagine what sort of effort it must have taken to put up an event of such a large scale. But even my imagination fails. Or perhaps I just don't want to think about it. Coordinating special events was part of my first job in Los Angeles, and it was the hardest part of that job. I never again applied for a position that had special events mentioned in the job description. I'm sure the organizers of this event had their anxious moments, maybe even a few sleepless nights, wondering whether it would all come together, but it has, and very beautifully. On behalf of all the guests, I would like to thank everyone involved in the preparations for doing their part, and then some, to make sure the celebration is as grand as the Festival of Light deserves. Diwali is the most important holiday in the Indian calendar, and indeed it is the start of the Indian calendar, the Indian New Year. India is a country that enjoys celebrating festivals, and with so many religions represented in that country, there is always a festival around the corner. Diwali is the most widely observed of all Indian festivals, celebrated even by non-Hindus. Different regions of India have different stories associated with the origin of the festival, and as the kind lady who introduced me, I think her name is Bhavya, said that the most famous story associated with this festival is the defeat of Rama's defeat of Ravana and his subsequent return to Ayodhya. According to this tradition, the festival gets its name from the row of lights that were lit to celebrate the return of the kingdom's rightful ruler after 14 years in exile. The light in these lamps symbolizes not only joy and rejoicing, but also the victory of good over evil. And this victory of good over evil is at the heart of Diwali. It might take a while for good to triumph over evil, just as it took 14 years for Ram to return from exile. But it is worth waiting for. It is worth hoping for. It is worth believing in. As an Indian, all of us who are Indians are very familiar with the adventures of Ram. But I sometimes wonder if the people who had seen Ram leave Ayodhya for exile believed if he would ever return. As the years went by, did they give up hope? There was no way of telling what might have happened to Ram or the two people who were with him. His wife Sita and his younger brother Lakshman. There were no cell phones back then. Most of you cannot imagine a world without cell phones because you have never known it. But I am old enough. I'm also old enough to remember an India with black and white TV. And don't bother checking your cell phones, I will tell you. India got color TV with the Asian Games of 1982. But there was no TV in Ram and Sita's day, and no computer, which meant no emails and, good heavens, no Facebook. Ram could not post a status update for friends back in Ayodhya, add in photos that they would like, comment about, and share with their friends. No, once you saw someone leave for exile in a forest, that might be the last time you saw them at all. Perhaps many of the Ayodhyans were disappointed when the months turned into years with no sign of Ram's return. Did they begin to doubt that he would ever come back? Had he found a better country? Had he been killed? But for light to shine in the darkness, there must be faith. There must be hope. Those who steadfastly believed that Ram would return must have felt doubly joyful when they saw him. Joyful because he was back, and joyful because they had not doubted. The return of Ram and Sita, when seen through the perspective of the Ayodhyans who had waited for this for 14 years, believing against all odds, represents the triumph of faith over doubt, of hope over despair. I wonder if there's some of us here today who have been waiting for good to triumph over evil in some area of their lives. Perhaps it's an illness or a family situation. Perhaps it's a class you're struggling with, or maybe a classmate. I have been an international student, both here and in England, and I know what that feels like. There are times, if given half a chance, we board the next flight back to India, even though doing so would mean giving up on so much. If there is one request I can make this Diwali, for those of you who are listening, that is, I would encourage anyone who finds themselves in a difficult situation not to give in to despair. I urge you to continue to hope and believe that good will triumph over evil in the end. also encourage you to see the situation as an opportunity. Ram's exile into the forest for 14 years was not in itself a good thing, but he accepted it to honor his father, which was the right thing to do. Excuse me. He probably never heard of the Ten Commandments, but he was instinctively following the one that says, honor your father and mother, that it may go well with you. He honored his father, and it did go well with him. But for the people who had been left behind in Ayodhya, the long wait for Rama's return was an opportunity to grow. I hope that many of them had good things to show for the 14 years. New homes, thriving businesses, children who were doing well at school, at university. Light is an apt metaphor for both of these victories, of good over evil and of hope over despair. Diwali, the festival of lights, is that time of year when all of India becomes bright with light, from the rows of diyas on the ground, to the lanterns hanging from ceilings and doorways, to the fireworks illuminating the night sky. Light represents joy and hope, and indeed it is a metaphor for God himself. For God is light, and in him there is no darkness at all. Since eating plays such an important role in Indian culture, even at non-festive times, food obviously has a place of prominence during Diwali. Last week, I posted a message on Facebook asking my friends what they liked about Diwali. And from the first response, I love the sweets, which came from one of my dearest childhood friends, Nirja. It was pretty much all about food. My only contribution to the list of goodies was bundi laddu. I like bundi laddu so much that I couldn't resist making it the favorite sweet of Nitesh Rai, one of the two protagonists in the title story of my book Pioneer Boulevard, Los Angeles Stories. I'm guessing that even more students have been able to visit Pioneer Boulevard by now. I had a very interesting conversation with Nidhi just before the start of this program, and she too has visited Pioneer Boulevard. And if you haven't, you've at least heard of that famous street which is known as Little India. In my book, only the title story is set in Little India. The other 9 are set elsewhere in LA. But Pioneer Boulevard has a special place in my life, in my heart for various reasons. For one thing, the word pioneer is a metaphor. The book is about immigrants, and immigrants are pioneers. We leave the safety of familiar places and are brave enough to go out into the unknown. And I especially applaud each student present here for doing so at such a young age. I mentioned homesickness earlier, but you will also find that the AIS HBSC ensures that the homesickness never lasts long. The story Pioneer Boulevard is also special because it's set during India's biggest festival, the one we are here to celebrate this evening. Indians like to bring in the new year with a purchase of gold to set the tone for the rest of the year. But Rhoda has come to salvage wedding necklace which means the money. What follows is an exchange between her and Nitesh Pai, the jeweler. It ends with Rhoda telling Nitesh Pai, I hope this new year is very prosperous for your family. I wish each of you the same, and I also pray that joy and hope that Diwali represents will remain in your hearts not just during this season, but all year long. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. I would request everyone to please be silent. Pooja, where have you been? I've been trying to call you since so long. I hope you have some good news.
Mukta, relax. Yes, I finally found someone for the event.
What are you saying?
No, actually not just someone. A lot of them are really important people. You know, I've managed to get our leaders for our event. Would you believe it?
What leaders? Pooja, you're testing my patience now.
By leaders I mean Mudda, our politicians. So cool, huh?
Wow, that's awesome.
I know, so chill, relax.
So you'll manage, right?
Of course I will. Now you get back to your work.
Okay, fine. See you. Bye.
So while we wait for our leaders to arrive, let's begin the show with Ganesh Vandana. Lord Ganesha is believed to be the remover of all obstacles, and his blessings are in vogue at the beginning of any function. So with a big round of applause, let's welcome Bhargavi on stage for Ganesh Vandana.
Wow, that was indeed a divine performance. Performing for you next is Ananya Mukhopadhyay with her Odissi performance. Choreographed by her Guru Kelucharan Mohapatra, this item is a poetic depiction of Lord Krishna dancing with the gopis.
Natam te Kita tak